Welcome to ACC Nation. That's Will Ojanen. Weave. Hey, and I'm Jim Quist. and guess what? They spelled your name correctly in the subtitle.
I did notice that this time when I looked it up.
Exciting news across the board in ACC sports. First up, number 1 seed Louisville and number 3 seed Pitt advanced to the NCAA volleyball semifinals. Louisville defeated Georgia Tech 3-1. Pitt defeated Purdue 3-1. Louisville faces number 4 Wisconsin. Pitt takes on number 10 Nebraska. That's in the semis. It's the first time that either program has made it to the semifinals. So this looks pretty good. This could end up being ACC championship.
Yeah, it sounds like we got an ACC Big Ten challenge going on there.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Hey, 3 ACC teams in the Elite Eight and a conference first as well there. So let's take a look at NCAA women's soccer, the College Cup Championship. FSU had a little bit of deja vu, but they defeated BYU in penalty kicks 4-3. So congratulations to the Seminoles. Nice win there. And then going over to the guys, Clemson and Notre Dame, they had a great game, battled through 2 overtimes before deciding in penalty kicks who would advance to the NCAA Men's Soccer College Cup Championship. And the final 5-3, Clemson. They'll play number 2 Washington. That will be going on later the day that we're actually recording. And that is for the title. We'll let you know how that all ends up at accnation.net. Now, ITA tennis, singles and doubles, top 60 rankings are out. We also have that at the site at accnation.net. You might want to check that out. A lot of great talent, again, highly ranked in the ITA rankings for collegiate tennis players. Georgia Tech women's basketball defeated number 3 UConn 57-44. New brackets by Charlie Cream over at ESPN has GT on the rise. They are at a number 6 seed at present. There are 8 ACC teams projected in his latest. Last week's top 25 women's basketball, number 2, NC State, number 7, Louisville, number 19, Duke, number 22, Notre Dame. And we should see significant movement of ACC teams into the poll. If not, let's just say this. Refs aren't the only ones who need glasses, voters.
Well, what a defensive effort by Georgia Tech in that game against UConn. I mean, yeah, I know Paige Beckers was out with an injury. She's going to be out for a little while yet, but holding UConn to 5 points in the fourth quarter and holding them to 31% shooting and 2 of 15 from 3. That's just a really strong defensive effort. Congrats to Nell Fortner on a huge win. They're now 7-2. And you talked about a team that probably should be ranked. We're looking at one right there.
That's right. There's a ton of teams that are just right on the cusp. They're in the receiving votes category, right on the cusp of making it into the top 25. I would venture to say that you'll see a lot of them moving forward in that. And I tell you what, here's another team that I absolutely enjoy watching lose, UConn basketball, because, to me, I have a lot of respect for Gino's abilities as a coach. He's established a heck of a program, but there's something about the dude's attitude for me that just rubs me the wrong way. So to hear Gino whining and moaning about how his program is not doing well and doesn't look good and yada, yada, yada. And, and a lot of people will say, well, we didn't have Paige. One person does not make a team. So Paige is going to be out,
especially at UConn.
2 months. Yeah, she's going to be out for 2 months, man. It's going to be some hard riding here over the next couple of months. If you're without your top player, boy. Anyway, not to and I hope Paige comes back. She's a great player. It's nice.
A local girl too, from here in the Twin Cities.
There you go. So She wouldn't be from Apple Valley, would she?
No,
Like
not like the
everybody.
Jones. She's I forget. I don't think she's from Minneapolis, if I'm thinking right. Maybe, but I think she's from one of the suburbs.
Uh, it's all Minneapolis to people outside of Minneapolis. So,
Even in St. Paul,
well,
everyone who's an outsider thinks St. Paul's Minneapolis.
well, that's Minneapolis. What are you talking? Yeah. And everybody there goes. It's sort of like everybody down in North Carolina who gets upset about calling it Raleigh Durham.
Uh-huh.
They just pitch a fit over that, and it's like, excuse me, but here's the thing: it's known as Raleigh Durham for a reason. It's sort of like this economic thing and a ratings for TV and radio and all that kind of nonsense. So they call it Raleigh Durham. Get over yourselves, man. We know you live in Durham, or you live in Raleigh, or you live in one of the multitudes of communities in and around Raleigh.
And not to mention the airport's Raleigh Durham, right?
That's right. So, it's Raleigh Durham. Get over
Yeah.
yourself.
And by the way, Paige Beckers is from Minnetonka, or that's where she went to high school, is in Minnetonka. So
yeah, it sounds like a Tonka toy. Anyway, football action. This was an interesting game. Army was expected to roll to another win over Navy, but that didn't happen that way. Navy gets a big upset, 17-13. What does this have to do with the ACC? Absolutely nothing. But football's still going on. It's going to be a little while before we get to our first ACC bowl game. That's going to be the Military Bowl, ECU versus Boston College on Monday, December 27th. So we have quite a few days to go before that game.
mm-hmm.
But those of you who like football, that was a good game. That was a lot of fun to watch. So
I didn't get to watch a lot of the game, but I watched, especially early on. I was so surprised how many passes were being thrown in the early portion of that game. Usually see these two and you're just like, run, maybe throw a pass if they're like in third and long, but no, there were times on first down when they were throwing passes. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? This is not what I'm used to. But yeah, great game. I tend to root for Navy every year. So I'm happy to see them get the win. They had the best uniforms on the field yesterday. There was no doubt in my mind about that. And by the way, to go back to something we were talking about a moment ago, Tonka toys were made in Minnesota. So
of course they are. They're mini Tonkas. It gets worse, folks. Get used to it. I want to thank people who are listening on ACC Nation Radio. The top 10 this week, I always get these stats essentially overnight right before we do this. Germany, the United States, United Kingdom, Philippines, Finland, Brazil, Netherlands, Belgium, Russia, Colombia. Those are the top 10 this past week, folks who are listening. And thank you. We appreciate you listening, and I hope that we're sharing something that's of interest to you. Obviously, we are, considering the numbers, and we're glad we can be there for you. This is just another way for people who are into sports to listen worldwide to ACC Nation. And
a bunch of people in Finland was like, "Oh, there's a guy with the last name of Ojinen. I got to check this out." But I think there's different variations of the pronunciation of my last name in Finland. So it's yeah.
Well, Quist is Swedish, so
yeah,
close. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, folks. We appreciate you a whole lot. We really do. And we're glad we can be there for you. Last week in ACC men's basketball. So here's some of the games. UNC defeated Georgia Tech 79-62. JMU held off Virginia 52-49. Villanova stopped Syracuse. Miami over Lipscomb. Virginia Tech defeated Cornell. NC State over Bethune-Cookman. Pitt narrowly over Colgate. And Louisville fell to DePaul. Now, weekend action, preceding our program, Georgetown over Syracuse, Clemson down, Drake, Boston College lost to St. Louis, Notre Dame, huge upset over Kentucky, 66-62. Let's talk about that, because that is that's another program where I just, I savor, if you've ever seen the GIF that's that the little raccoon going like that's me right now.
Yeah.
So nice win.
Yeah.
Nice
So
win.
yeah, full disclosure, I did not get to see this game. I was actually attending my own D1 basketball game. Yesterday I was in St. Paul to watch Montana State take on St. Thomas in a competitive basketball game. But as far as this game goes, one of the things about Kentucky that people started talking about as they came into this game is, they always say, they ain't played nobody. Well, outside of the Duke game, they ain't played nobody. I mean, you look at the Kentucky resume coming into this game, I don't think that they had played a top 100 KenPom team until this Notre Dame game. Now, let's keep in mind as well that Notre Dame just recently lost to Boston College, so that's not exactly the biggest. It's kind of tells you just where the season is. So yeah,
Don't
Kentucky's.
tell me, Will, you're not going to do this transitive properties thing here, are you?
Yeah, congratulations to Boston College on their transitive property win over Kentucky. Yes, that's exactly where I'm going. But no, this is the thing is Kentucky's, like I told you, they've played 3 teams ranked outside the top 300 or 300 in KenPom, and have played they hadn't played a top 100 KenPom team since between the Duke game to open the season and the Notre Dame game on Saturday. And it's not like they've blown all these teams out. I mean, they struggled with Southern earlier in the week, only beat them by 12. But big game. Like I say, Notre Dame has had an up and down year. They've, like I say, they lost to Boston College on the road in a pretty decisively, I should say. But what the big story in this game is 3-point shooting. I mean, Notre Dame, they weren't great. They were 7 of 22. That was 32%. Kentucky was 2 of 19 from 3-point range, and in an era where the 3-point shot is like the thing. It's like very predominant in this version of college basketball, that if you can't hit them, you generally don't win. So yeah, 7-2 basically in terms of 3-pointers made. That's really the big difference in the game. Notre Dame shot 46% from the field, pretty solid effort. They've always been a pretty good shooting team, but they're not a great defensive team. And still, that was a good defensive effort against a team that has had its issues. I mean, they're decent. They're not a great 3-point shooting team to begin with. In Kentucky, they're issue 30% for the field coming into for the season. So the fact that they shot 2 of 19, eventually you got to realize, okay, the threes aren't falling. We need to try something else. But that's also a problem in today's college basketball, is when you realize you're not hitting the three, you got to try something else. And people nowadays, it feels like this is just the mindset is threes are bust. And that really can be a problem. But not to take away anything from Notre Dame. That is a really big win. Kentucky was a top 10 team. It's going to look really good on the resume. A big effort from their starting. Their starters all played fairly well. I mean, Prentice Hub actually came off the bench in this game, which was a little bit surprising because he's someone I thought would have a big year this year. So I don't know if it was just a matchup thing or what, but he only played 21 minutes. I mean, he only played 7 players. I think Mike Bray doesn't generally like to use his bench a lot. But huge. One of the big efforts of this game was from Blake Wesley, who had 14 points in this game. Goodwin had 14 as well. Again, congratulations, Notre Dame. You absolutely deserve to storm that court after that win.
One suggestion: use your bench, and also for coaches across the spectrum, use your timeouts. They're given to you. They're freebies, and sometimes I think I've told this story once before. I'll tell it again. When I was coaching, I recently, I took the group that I had, and they were doing really well. So they were ahead. I wasn't too concerned about winning or losing, because quite frankly, no game is a gimme, but because things can turn on a dime. This pretty much was a done deal. And so I took a timeout and I got everybody around and got them down on the, well, standing around. I got down on the floor and I said, do you guys know why I called this timeout? And they go, no. I said, because I can.
Who do you think you are, Pete Gillen?
He just looked at me like I'm crazy. And I just started laughing. I said, because we've got it. Let's use it. And, just take a little break, relax, go out and play some basketball, enjoy yourself. And a couple seconds after that, the ref came over and said, okay, coach, and
do you need help back up? I'm just kidding.
I think at that point, I probably would have taken that offer because, oh my God. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, take those timeouts, man. That's what they're there for. I always hear these coaches talk about, well, I'm not going to take timeouts, blah, 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 blah. What? They're given to you. They're part of the game. Take a timeout at the most inopportune time. Take a timeout and just do something like that. Lighten the atmosphere a little bit for your players, something, anything, But if you leave, so far as I'm concerned, if you're leaving timeouts on the board that you haven't used, you're not effectively using the entire game to your advantage. Sometimes a little mental break is a good thing, even when you don't think they need it. It's a good thing. Anyway, so some advice that nobody will listen to. So LSU over Georgia Tech, Wake Forest continues to chalk up, and you're going to love this one. Will, are you ready for this?
Ready.
Fantastic Forbes finales with their win over USC upstate. That was a
but let me talk about that for a second, because I think people need to understand just what Wake Forest is doing this year. I know we're still definitely into the bowels of non-conference play, but I don't think anybody at this point thought Wake Forest would be 9-1 on the season, with a win at Virginia Tech by 19 in a game that wasn't even all that close. Mm-hmm. Their lone loss was a 14-point loss to LSU, who is having a really good season. They're one of the last undefeated teams to bring that up. They have the win. The Northwestern win in overtime is really nice. The win at Virginia Tech is really nice. They're not really going to get challenged much the next couple of games. I mean, they play VMI and Charlotte, and before they hit the conference play on December 22nd against Boston College. So we could easily be looking at 11-1 heading into conference play. Now, why is Wake Forest doing this? They're sixth in 2-point percentage at just under 59%. They're 36% from three, which, that's a pretty good percentage. Their effective field goal percentage is 11th in the country. So what it tells me is they're getting really good point guard play. They're getting shots. I know Jake Laravia is somebody that has come along and has played really nice. I believe he's a transfer, if I'm not mistaken. But Steve Forbes has really put together a nice roster, has brought Wake Forest, and we knew, like anybody who's watched what he did at East Tennessee State knew, this guy was going to build this program up. It was a matter of how long it's going to take, and it looks like we're in the middle of year 2, and he's already done good things for this team. Now, I still think it's too early to anoint them an NCAA tournament team, because we still need more of a sample size. We need a little more conference play to play out, just to see if they are for real. But I think no matter what, we know Wake Forest is on the up again.
The other thing too is that Steve Forbes still has the jokes, man. He's still laying them out there. And if you want to be entertained by a coach as well as enjoy watching what he's doing with that program, follow Wake Forest basketball, because he is some sort of character. And we need more of that in basketball, guys who can lighten things up a little bit when when necessary. And also North Carolina defeated Elon. So that was some of the weekend action. Starting off this week, this is a good game. I don't know how the Wolfpack are going to do in this game, but they're going to be facing number one Purdue. It's going to be at the Barclays Center too. So I think it's on the Big Ten network if you're looking for this. And most people have the Big Ten network on their.
You are correct.
Providers.
Big Ten network.
So that is going to be an interesting game. I really want to see how the Wolfpack reacts to how Purdue, they're going to bring it. And because they're on a national stage, especially, they're really going to bring it. So this ought to be a very fascinating game.
Let's keep in mind too that Purdue's coming off their first loss of the season. They will not be ranked number one after today, but you think they're going to have a little bit extra in the tank for this game. I'm curious to see what NC State has for them. I see they're coming off a win over Bethune-Cookman. They're 7-2 on the season. Don't have a lot in the chamber in terms of quality wins. I mean, their best win is Louisiana Tech per KenPom. One of the things about NC State is, with Manny Bates out for the year, the defense is a little down, but they're getting some really good offensive production. I like the season Darian Sebron's having for the Wolfpack. He's someone who is shooting the ball really well. On the inside, but he's probably their best player, and he's only a sophomore right now.
Some promising stuff. AP Top 25 this past week. The only ACC team in there, number 3, was Duke. And the question is, does any other ACC team deserve to be in the top 25? And the answer is an emphatic
near.
That's exactly right.
It's rough sledding right now for the ACC, I'm afraid, when you look at all these random efforts. I mean, we saw Virginia lose at JMU on Tuesday night pretty much because they went 12 minutes or something without a bucket. They scored 14 points in the first half, and it was only 14 because K.A. Clark hit a 3 at the buzzer. Otherwise, it would have been 11. We obviously know their warts, but the fact that they did that and still only lost by 3. I mean, we know the defense is going to be really good, but they really need to fix that offense. Otherwise, it's going to be a really long year. But yeah, all these teams, with the exception of Duke, just don't have a lot of weird losses or getting pushed by teams they shouldn't. For example, Clemson on Saturday got taken to overtime by Drake. I mean, how do you get taken to overtime by a rapper? I mean, I don't think that was God's plan at all.
We gotta love the Drake if you want to go for Seinfeld. Love the Drake. Yeah. I'm going back to a point you made of talking about those 3-pointers. If you're living and dying by shooting perimeter shots, you're going to die, because it's truly not a high percentage shot. If you can't penetrate or find some way to get in and own the boards, especially, and put stuff back up when you're missing shots, then you're in trouble. Virginia has that issue right now. I watch their offensive efforts, and I keep saying to myself, drive, penetrate, man. And it's like all they're doing is passing it around the perimeter, and then at the last second taking a ridiculous 3-point shot. And I'm thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah. It was pretty telling during that game where Pete Gillen's on the call, and he's sitting there like, get it inside of your best player, get it to Gardner, get it to Gardner. And they would look at getting it to Gardner, but they would just pass it around the perimeter. And like you said, it would leave like K.A. Clark for an open or for a 3 with like a couple seconds left on the shot clock. And yeah, I think that's where the offense needs to go, is inside the Gardner, inside the Shedrick. And he's he's still really raw, but we all know he's got tons of talent. He just needs to stay out of foul trouble, and that's something we hope he'll figure out as time goes on. Because
He,
I think those two right there, Gardner and Shedrick, are going to be key to Virginia to any success Virginia has this season.
if I have those two guys and their work in the middle, I'm feeding to them constantly, and I do not care if they're getting stripped or if they're not getting all their shots in or if they're getting in foul trouble. You have to build that confidence by playing in game time. You know, it's got to be game time action in order for them to become better players and more effective. And this perimeter crap, it's got to stop. It really does. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, passing around the perimeter and then taking a desperation shot from the three. And you know they're going to miss. I mean, my God, it's like, how many times have you watched that happen and you just know it's, yeah, well, it's not going. Come on, penetrate. And that goes for every single team that's doing this three thing, is that if all you're doing is passing around the perimeter and you're not penetrating, you're not playing basketball.
And the
So
funny thing is, I was just taking a look at it while you were talking, and right as of right now, Virginia's 3-point percentage is lower than the 2020 team that was just as bad offensively, yet they're ranked a lot higher. Like I think the 2020 team was like 311th in 3-point shooting, and this year's team is like in the I just pulled it up, it was like in the 280s. That really tells you just, how many, where the 3-point shooting is at right now.
it tells you overall with college basketball is not
Uh-huh.
it's not good.
Well, we had that game where Arizona State scored like 29 points here within the last week or two.
Mm-hmm.
I really, that's pretty pathetic.
All right, women's basketball, the net rankings, these are important. So listen up. Number one is South Carolina. We know that. At number two, it's NC State. Number three, North Carolina. Number four, Texas. Number five, Nebraska. Then the ACC teams at number six, it's Louisville. At number 17, it's Notre Dame. Number 20, Duke. Number 23, Virginia Tech. Number 30, Georgia Tech. 48, FSU. 57, Wake Forest. 58, Boston College. And if you follow the net rankings and how that all kind of plays into how the brackets are set up, then you'll understand why I went to that number. These are teams that all have a shot at getting into the NCAA's bracket come March if they continue to play the way they are and move up in the rankings. Interesting thing here, North Carolina is in the top 6 of scoring defense. Alyssa Ostby leads the ACC in double doubles, and Deja Kelly is the top scorer. North Carolina is a team to watch. They are not ranked appropriately in the AP top 25. You will see that change rapidly.
Yeah, definitely. There's only a couple of undefeated teams left in the ACC, and Carolina is one of them. You look at their resumes; they're 8-0. Their best wins are probably Minnesota, Washington. I mean, they held Washington to 37 points. You talked about that defense. I mean, there are not a lot of really outside of the Minnesota game where they allowed 76 points. They have allowed more than 51 time. They allowed 59 to VCU, but you see some of these, it's like 47, 33, 44, 46, 37, and 47. I mean, they're just such a good defensive team. And, this is a team that, remember, it wasn't all that long ago that they were at the bottom of the league, and, they were going through all the issues with the retirement of Sylvia Hatchett. Now we got the new coach in, and they've really re-energized that program.
Yeah, it's fun to see. And I was wondering not long ago about how long it was going to take for this program to really turn the corner and get back to those glory days. Now, that's not to say that they're there yet, but certainly, as you point out, big difference between when Sylvia was running the program and then the turnaround or the change and kind of rebuilding the program overall. So watch out for North Carolina, because they want to be right in the mix, and they certainly are going to be.
And then on Duke, since they're the other undefeated team, I mean, they're winning with offense. I mean, they've scored at least 70 points in every game this season. They're shooting the ball really well. And guess who they have to play later this week on the 15th? South Carolina. That should be a matchup. South Carolina is already, they're the only team to beat. They're the only team to beat NC State to this point. I mean, NC State, like you said, they're number 2 in the net. They're probably going to be number 2 in the rankings. So this is going to be a tough matchup for the Blue Devils in a battle of undefeated. So, good luck to them.
It'll be a fun game. Charlie Cream at ESPN, women's bracketology. He has Wake Forest on the bubble. In the Bridgeport regional, he has number 1 seed NC State and number 6 UNC, and they are on the rise, obviously. In the Wichita regional, it's number 1 Stanford. Then there's Virginia Tech at number 8. He has them dropping a bit. Understandable. Number 5, Duke on the rise. Understandable, as you just sort of pointed out there, and we'll see how they do against South Carolina. The Greensboro regional, it's number 1 seed South Carolina. Don Staley has quite the program going on there. It's nice to watch that as she's built it over the years. The number 5 seed is Notre Dame, and number 2 seed is Louisville. Spokane, number 1 Arizona, and number 8 FSU. They've got them dropping just a bit, and of course after that UConn win, Charlie's got Georgia Tech at number 6 and moving up. So that's kind of a look at what's going on there with women's basketball as well. A lot of excellent sports going on. This has been a fantastic fall sports season, and going into winter as well for the ACC. There's championships and finishing at much higher places than we're accustomed to. Getting ready to crank up the swimming and diving season, indoor track, a couple of other things that are coming up around the corner. We have talked about having Aaron Fitt come on and talk about baseball, because fall baseball was pretty interesting. I will encourage you to do this. D1 Baseball does a review of teams, college teams, especially those that they think are going to be doing well. And they have been doing the ACC recently. So if you do not subscribe to D1 Baseball and you're a baseball aficionado, you should check them out and certainly subscribe. And that way you'll get that information, a lot of insider information. That they're very thorough at D1, very thorough. It's fun to read some of their stuff. It's very involved. And I cannot say enough good things about those guys there. So we've got a lot of other things that are getting ready to kick off fall sport, or rather winter sports wise, that we'll have coverage on. That includes fencing. So look for some of that information at accnation.net. That's all coming up in over the next couple of weeks. Now, on our midweek interview program, we've got Jonathan Warner coming in to talk to us. He is a bracketologist. So that should be interesting, Will. We're going to talk some broader college basketball.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. He's a really smart guy with a lot of knowledge of college basketball, and it's been kind of a weird season so far to this point. A lot of upsets, and we're excited to break it down with him.